welcome to another episode of Reddit Wolf. Without further delay, let's jump into today's story. After 9 years of reconciliation, I just got the I think I'm polyamorous after all talk at marriage counseling out of nowhere, hosted by Hurt Halo. Back again after 9 years, wife had an emotional affair. Let's face it, it was likely physical as well, but I'll never know, in 2013, which resulted in a long road to eventual reconciliation. Things have been great, and we've had two more kids since then, and really ticked off some amazing things in terms of work and our own lives. The affair is now a memory. Well, in the past, and we did a lot of work to get over it. I'll admit, at the time, it took everything I had. Fast forward 9 years. To set the scene, wife has been struggling for a bit in regards to life in general and the usual malaise with COVID and a busy work life. We've done well to get through it, and the kids are thriving. We have both suffered from a bit of anxiety, and to be honest, the last few months have been a bit of a struggle. I ended up in hospital with a panic attack, which I thought was a heart attack. Thankfully, it wasn't. A few months ago, which took me by complete surprise. Evidently, I was dealing with a lot more latent stress than I thought. But who hasn't been in the last 2 years, right? We both have very busy and stressful jobs, and we've been drifting slightly apart in regards to emotional intimacy. Physically, we have a great sex life, but we just don't make time for ourselves. Without too much information, we talked about the possibility, and I stress possibility, of maybe going to a swingers club for a laugh. Not necessarily to do anything, but to get out of the grind and have a laugh. We are both sexually very open in regards to things we like to give a red hot go, and so we've floated the idea a few times, or perhaps having fun with other people, but we've never acted on it. Whatever floats your boat, right? I have stressed over and over again that if we did anything, it would be as a couple. There would be no polyamory situations of dating anyone else. If a bit of fun happened with like-minded friends, so be it. And it likely wouldn't anyway. We opened a couple of profiles on a couples app that leads that way, just for a laugh and to see what was out there. And that was it. We hadn't messaged anyone, nor were we really looking to. As a side note, we have friends whose marriage is a bit rocky at the moment after the husband went away from work and had an affair. He's now decided he might be polyamorous, and his wife, bless her soul, is trying to work through this. She's been a saint really and is trying to understand it. I made a comment to my wife that I thought his excuse was pure rubbish. But of course she took his side and could understand that it might just work for him. I noticed she also started reading a book, The State of Affairs, Rethinking, Infidelity by Esther Perel. I thought it was a bit odd, but it's all a rich tapestry of research, I guess. To compound this, my wife is having to move to another city for a 2-year military posting next year. We agreed not to move the kids, noting they have finally settled after years of moving, and we promised we weren't going to do that to them anymore. This isn't a huge problem under ideal circumstances. We have dealt with this in our entire careers, and I'm more than happy running a full-time job and taking care of the home front. Besides, there's plenty of opportunities nowadays for flexibility, and she can always come home and work from home from time to time. Anyway, in light of the above struggles and a bit of lack of emotional intimacy, the wife suggested we see a marriage counsellor just to do a health check on the marriage and work out some ways we can improve it, noting everything that is going on. So we agreed that if it felt right, we'd bring up the idea of experimentation if we felt comfortable with the therapist. We had our first session, all was great, we talk openly, I do the homework on love language, etc., and I'm feeling good about it. I go away for an overseas work trip and we get ready for our second session. This was a few days ago. I'll also add here that my in-laws are staying with us due to it being the last week of school holidays. It's great having them down to see the kids, but you'll soon see why this swiftly won't be so great in the next paragraph. Second session is going great. We're having a great chat about ways we can improve our emotional intimacy, watching a TV show in bed so that we can cuddle, etc. And I mentioned that I'm feeling a bit insecure about the upcoming posting, noting that we had to build trust after wife's affair in 2013. And so I feel understandably a little anxious about the next year. All is great until wife drops an absolute clanger. Yeah, so I am lacking emotional fulfillment from the marriage, and despite my best efforts to convince myself that I'm not like this, I really think the only way to get fulfillment would be from seeing other people in an ethical, non monogamous relationship or relationship. You could have heard the therapist's mouth drop, probably matching my own. I instantly went into flight or fight mode. And that feeling I first felt back in 2013 on D Day came flooding back. Needless to say, I went into shutdown. I was present in the room, but I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The therapist sucked his teeth, looked at me, and said, "How does that make you feel?" I feel like I'd just been had, I said. I also mentioned that her posting is now like an hourglass. We are swiftly running out of sand as the time flies this year until we're faced with this reality. And now, in light of this information, my anxiety has just been compounded exponentially. The session was a blur after that. I struggled to take anything in. My blood was throbbing in my veins, and I broke out in a cold sweat while my stomach flipped. This wasn't a case of, oh, hey, we thought about perhaps being comfortable enough sexually to maybe experiment. This was full. I want to see other people, and I want you to understand it and be fine with it eventually. I was ropeable. At the end, the therapist said, "I think you two should go and get coffee at the end of this and talk." My wife suggested that would be a great idea. Still seething and barely able to conjure a coherent thought, let alone hold it together, I mumbled, "No, that's not going to happen. I need to go to work." I paid, my hands shaking, nonchalantly mumbling goodbye to my wife, got in the car and drove to work. I didn't leave work until 8 p.m. that night. I simply couldn't face going home. I eventually did go home, kissed the kids goodnight, and just got into my gym gear and went and worked out until 10:30. Other than my kids, home is not a space I want to be at the moment. I left for work at 6 a.m. this morning and stayed there all day again. Eventually, I felt compelled to come home. I desperately love seeing my kids. But I didn't want to speak to my wife. I can't tell you how awkward it is to make small talk with the in-laws, like nothing is going on, while my marriage feels like it's been blown up. But here's another rub. When we set up our separate but couple profile on that app, I don't think she realizes that my notifications let me know that it dings my phone when she logs into the app. Long and short of it, she's logging into the app multiple times a day. This app isn't like Tinder, and noticing the niche and the size of the city we live in, it's not like there are a large number of people creating profiles on it daily. I can separate the curiosity and or boredom of just looking at profiles from the idea she's messaging people, couples, without me. Another strict boundary we agreed on when all this talk started. But in light of all the above, it's not looking great. She's been on it 3 times in the last 12 hours alone. I had a mini panic attack in the car, just a fluttery heart, countered by some deep box breathing, but I drove myself to the doctors and unloaded everything without specific details. He's ex-military as well, and he's prescribed me anti-anxiety medication, noting the potential side effects. I'll start that course on Saturday to be safe. I'm also very bloody angry that she's dropped this at literally the worst possible time. I'm trapped in the house with her parents, and now I'm expected to slowly chew this dripping excrement sandwich while maintaining a cool, calm demeanor. She asked quietly to talk tonight, and I told her no. My anger is absolute. To be honest, I feel like the whole marriage counseling push was for her to validate dropping this bomb. She evidently wants far more than I do, and she doesn't seem to understand why I have some reservations, and probably more correctly, clearly defined boundaries. I said to the therapist, this isn't asking me to try a food I haven't eaten before. This is asking me to move to Mongolia, where I have absolutely no desire to do so. It's asking me to try and fall in love with Mongolian culture when I know full and well that I have no interest in the culture whatsoever because I like Japanese, French, Canadian culture instead. Weird metaphor, I know. At any rate, the therapist now wants to see us on our own, which, and I could be wrong, is usually code word for shit has just spiraled out of control and I need to see what's going on. I'm at a loss. It's Friday tomorrow and she's going out with girlfriends tomorrow night. I'm leaving the house early again, so I don't have to deal with the whole uncomfortableness of this rock show. And I really have a good mind to just pack a bag tomorrow and just leg it for a few days. Hell knows my body is screaming at me to do so. Any advice would be appreciated from anyone who's gone through something similar, or advice at all, really. Thanks for the read. It's good to get it out regardless. Who needs a drink? And now for some comments. Daily Gratitude says, wow, this is awful. Insane. Your wife pulled the rug out from under you. What the F? I'm very sorry. It's not right and not fair. She is selfish. You put in so much work and gave her a second chance at marriage, and now she wants what she wants. When the two of you were married, you agreed to monogamy. Now she's changing the rules and wants you to come along. So very sorry. I hope whatever path you take, you will find peace and joy that you deserve. And Morning Glory says, your marriage is over, if it ever really existed. By marriage, I mean your mutual fidelity to the vows you took, which included a vow of lifelong monogamy. She made it clear through both actions and words that she wants and will pursue sex with other men. It's over. Get your financial ducks in a row, get a good lawyer, and file for divorce. Don't talk to your wife about divorcing first. Just do it and have her served. Just like she served you in MC. Do it while she's on her new post, which will put you in an excellent position to keep primary custody of the kids. She doesn't love you. She doesn't have your best interests in heart. She's not invested in the marriage. And lastly, Grub says, sorry this shit dropped on you. See an attorney. There's no reconciling what you need to feel secure and what she's now made clear she wants. Even if she backpedals, that 2-year separation will be fatal to your marriage after this bomb and her history. Her activity on the app is just a sideshow. I'd have her served as soon as papers are ready. There's no point in dragging this out further. I wouldn't hesitate to let the in-laws know that your wife is pursuing something that is compatible with remaining married to you. Wonder how much of that heart attack was that your subconscious acting on the subtle signs that she's straying again. Like, is there a correlation between both your wayward wife and the friends suddenly deciding they are polyamorous? And this wraps up today's episode. Please remember to like and subscribe and comment below on what you think about this story. And I'll see you next time.